The Revelation. The book of Revelation, often mistakenly referred to as Revelations, opens with a declaration of its authorship by John. This John might be the same who penned the Gospel and the letters bearing his name, or perhaps another figure, a messianic Jewish prophet known in early Christian circles. Regardless of his identity, John's opening words position his work within a well-established genre of his time, the Apocalypse. This genre was designed not just to reveal the layers of divine mystery, but to offer a framework through which the faithful could interpret the tumults of their time. As we delve into this video, we uncover not of foretold destiny, but of divine insight meant to guide and fortify believers through trials and tribulations. The nature of apocalypse. The term apocalypse, derived from the Greek apocalypsis, translates to a revelation or unveiling, particularly evident through symbolic dreams and visions that impart divine insight into historical and current events. This literary form, deeply embedded in Jewish texts and Hebrew scriptures, is not about cryptic predictions of doomsday as often misconceived, but is a profound expression of God's perspective on earthly dynamics. For audiences in John's time, this style of writing was not esoteric, but a familiar exploration of divine truths, utilizing complex symbolism and metaphors drawn from their religious heritage. Through John's vivid descriptions, the abstract concepts of divine will and cosmic order were rendered tangible, turning celestial dramas into mirrors reflecting the earthly tribulations of his contemporaries. The apocalyptic writings thus served not merely as warnings, but as beacons of hope, asserting that beyond the immediate oppressions, it was the divine realm that ultimately reigned supreme. Such texts encouraged the faithful to perceive their personal and communal sufferings as part of a larger divine narrative, promising vindication and justice from the highest authority. The prophetic messages to the 7 churches. Exiled to the rugged terrains of Patmos, John's isolation bore the fruit of profound spiritual visions, which he shared through his writings. In his revelation, Jesus Christ appears glorified and sovereign, amidst 7 lampstands ablaze with holy light, symbolizing the 7 churches to whom John writes. Borrowing the imagery from the prophet Zechariah, John crafts a scene that intertwines divine majesty with earthly church life. Each church, represented by a lampstand, faced its unique set of challenges. Some congregations were numbed by wealth and prosperity, leading to spiritual complacency. Others were ensnared in moral and ethical compromises, engaging in pagan rituals. Yet, a few remained steadfast in their faith, enduring persecution with resilient hope. John's messages to these churches were deeply personal, crafted to address the specific trials and tribulations of each community. He recognized their sufferings and moral dilemmas, providing counsel that was both corrective and encouraging. In doing so, John linked the cosmic grandeur of his visions with the gritty realities of communal church life, urging a revival of faith and perseverance amidst the encroaching shadows of the Roman Empire's influence. This section of the text transcends mere historical recounting, resonating as a timeless reminder of the perennial human struggle between spiritual compromise and conviction. By embedding his prophetic messages in real-world challenges, John elevated the personal struggles of the 7 churches into exemplars of broader spiritual truths, teaching that endurance in faith could light the darkest of times. Through these tailored messages, the apocalypse serves as a clarion call to all believers, urging them to see beyond their immediate trials to the eternal victory promised by divine providence. Vision of the heavenly throne. In one of the most visually compelling segments of Revelation, John's subsequent visions transport the reader into a celestial throne room, an intricate tapestry woven with threads from Old Testament prophecies. This grand vision showcases heavenly beings in perpetual worship of the Creator, embodying an eternal hymn of praise. At the center of this celestial court is a sealed scroll, its contents known only to the divine, linked to the prophetic visions of Daniel and holding the decrees for Earth's ultimate destiny. Intriguingly, the one deemed worthy to unseal the scroll is not a mighty warrior, as might be anticipated, but rather the Lamb Jesus Christ depicted as both slain and resurrected. This potent imagery challenges earthly paradigms of power, presenting Christ's sacrificial death as the true path to victory and authority. The throne room itself is depicted as a cosmic court, where divine judgment and mercy are meted out in equal measure. The vibrant and dynamic imagery used by John is replete with creatures that represent the entirety of creation, each element and entity in its place, contributing to the cosmic liturgy. These beings, from the 4 living creatures to the 24 elders, encircle the throne in a display of cosmic order and devotion, their unceasing praise echoing the fundamental truth of divine sovereignty and justice. This scene is not only a visual spectacle, but also a theological statement, affirming that all of creation is under God's judicious reign, orchestrated from the throne of heaven itself. The unfolding judgments and the role of the Church. As the narrative unfolds, John describes a series of judgments unleashed through 7 seals, trumpets, and bowls, each deepening the portrayal of divine justice and the establishment of God's kingdom on earth. These sequences, rich in symbolic imagery, are often misinterpreted as chronological forecasts of future events. However, they are better understood as overlapping representations, each retelling the same period spanning from Christ's resurrection to his promised return from distinct vantage points. The seals and trumpets do more than herald physical calamities. They also signify spiritual awakenings and calls to perseverance for the faithful. Particularly poignant is the depiction under the 5th seal, where the martyr's cries for vindication rise to the heavens, a stark reminder of the cost of faithfulness and the profound belief in divine rectitude that sustains the persecuted. This cycle of judgments serves to weave an ever tighter fabric of divine intervention, revealing a God who is not only sovereign over all, but also deeply engaged with the tribulations of his followers. Through these vivid depictions, John illustrates the dual nature of divine action, destructive towards structures of evil and restorative for those who remain steadfast in their faith. The Church's role within this cosmic drama is critical. Believers are called not merely to passive observation, but to active participation in the unfolding divine plan. By enduring trials and embodying the sacrificial love of Christ, the Church becomes a conduit of God's justice and mercy, a beacon of light in a world often shrouded in darkness. A call to witness and the power of sacrificial love. At the heart of the book of Revelation lies the slain yet sovereign Lamb, a figure that powerfully encapsulates the Christian doctrine of divine authority manifested through self-giving love. This central theme profoundly reshapes the understanding of conquest and power, presenting a paradigm where true victory is achieved not through overwhelming force, but through self-sacrifice. The mission of the Church, therefore, is radically envisioned not as dominion, but as witness-bearing testimony through lives that emulate the redemptive sacrifice of Jesus. This radical approach, highlighted by the unsealed scroll, suggests that the Church's influence on the world and its participation in the divine promise of a new creation hinges on its commitment to this sacrificial way of life. The martyrs, who stand as the most poignant exemplars of this principle, do not triumph by surviving or defeating their foes, but through their willingness to lay down their lives. Paradoxically, their deaths are depicted not as defeats, but as victories, a holy seed planted for the germination of a renewed and sanctified world. This perspective is not confined to the annals of history or the realm of prophecy alone. It resonates with piercing relevance in the lives of contemporary believers. It challenges them to perceive their personal and communal adversities as part of a larger divine narrative where temporary trials are overshadowed by the promise of eternal triumph. Thanks for exploring the profound insights of the Book of Revelation with us. If you enjoyed this video through its symbolic and visionary worlds, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to never miss out on our future deep dives into biblical texts and their timeless messages.